Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Dadbot here. It is December 1st, 2025. We're going to jump right in here. We're going to talk about small town police departments and how there is basically no accountability for them. There's no internal affairs, no one to check on them, make sure they're doing what they're supposed to, and that there's no nefarious activities going on. They have free reign to do whatever they want, and there's no one to check up on them. So the reason that I bring that up is because we're going to talk today about a case that happened in Gary, Nebraska, which is just about 32 miles away from where I'm at. And a lot of people who follow me might not know about this case, but we're going to talk about it because there's a lot of things that don't make sense, and it's been a very big topic of conversation around where I'm at. Like I said, Gary, Nebraska is about 32 miles from Torrington, Wyoming, where I am. And this is kind of an interesting case, and a lot of it doesn't make sense. So I'm going to tell you the background of this case, and I'm going to tell you some things that have been talked about and things that have came out recently. And then I want you guys to let me know what your thoughts are and what you think is going on, because, like I said, there's a lot more questions than answers over this whole thing. But basically, this is about Chance Englbert in Gary, Nebraska. Chance Leslie Englbert was a 25-year-old resident of Moorcroft, Wyoming at the time of his disappearance. Described as a cowboy at heart, he was an accomplished rodeo enthusiast who earned a riding scholarship to put himself through college, where he studied diesel mechanics and welding. In 2018, he married Bailey, his high school sweetheart, and they welcomed their first child, a son named Banks, shortly before the events of July of 2019. Englbert was on the cusp of starting a new job at a local propane company and was known for his strong family ties, outdoors skills, and determination. Physically, he was approximately 6 feet tall, weighing around 180 pounds, with brown hair, blue eyes, and distinctive tattoos, including a cross on his right forearm and a script on his left bicep. The disappearance happened July 6, 2019. Englbert vanished during a 4th of July family trip to Gary, Nebraska, his wife's hometown, where they were staying with her relatives. The day started normally, with Englbert golfing with Bailey's family, but tension arose when relatives made comments about his upcoming job's lower salary compared to his previous role. Upset and feeling belittled, he called Bailey around midday to vent and expressed a desire to leave Gearing immediately and return to Wyoming. Bailey picked him up and drove him to her grandparents' house on 10th Street, hoping to calm the situation, but this only escalated his frustration as he felt further alienated by his in-laws. Around 7:30 to 7:50 p.m., Englbert stormed out of the vehicle and began walking south on foot, determined to get away from the family. Surveillance footage from a local business captured him at 7:50 p.m. heading east on 10th Street towards Overland Avenue, glancing at his phone, possibly using a map app, and appearing purposeful. He made one final call to his close friend, Matt Miller, who was about 4 hours away at a holiday party in Wyoming. Englbert pleaded for an immediate ride home, sounding agitated and saying, "I need to get out of here." Miller urged him to stay put while he arranged help, but the call ended abruptly. A severe thunderstorm rolled through Gearing and surrounding areas between 8 and 9 p.m., bringing high winds, lightning, heavy rain, and flash flooding that swelled nearby rivers like the North Platte at 9:08 p.m. Englbert's phone sent a garbled text to his aunt, Kathy, a grumpy face emoji, followed by a nonsensical letters later theorized to be storm-related signal interference. His phone then went silent with no further activity. Bailey and family members called and searched for him that evening until dark, but he had vanished. The next morning, July 7th, Bailey filed a missing persons report with the Gearing Police Department. Now, it's important to note but you'll know why later, that on the day of the disappearance, there was a storm. The low was 59 degrees and the high was 79 degrees, even with the storm. Okay? That's just a little tidbit. Okay. Investigation and search efforts. The Gary Police Department, led by Chief George Holthius, Captain Jason Rogers, and investigator Brian Eds, launched an immediate response, treating the case as suspicious until proven otherwise. Early theories include an accidental drowning in the flooded North Platte River just blocks from his last sighting, or a fall into Terry Lake given the storm's chaos and Englbert's proximity to the water. However, his friend Matt Miller dismissed these, noting Englbert's familiarity with rough terrain and weather from his rodeo background. He was capable in any conditions. Searchers were exhaustive. Family and friends conducted foot patrols and used drones to cover miles of rural scrubland, riverbanks, bluffs. Canine units, helicopters, and volunteer teams scoured the area repeatedly over 6 years. The investigation involved hundreds of tips, search warrants on family properties, which cleared all relatives. Polygraph tests and interviews outside agencies from Nebraska, Wyoming, South Dakota, and beyond assisted, including forensic teams. A reward fund grew to over $17,000 for information leading to answers. Despite all this, no credible leads emerged until 2025, and the case strained family relationships. Englbert's mother, Dawn, has no contact with Bailey or her grandson, Banks, in over 2 years, amid mutual blame and online harassment. Foul play was considered due to the sudden phone cutoff and lack of evidence, with some, like Miller, suspecting he was taken and hidden underground. Bailey maintained full cooperation, inviting searches of her home and emphasizing her transparency. No arrests were made, and the case remained open as a potential homicide. Resolution and discovery and identification of remains. On October 10, 2025, over 6 years after his disappearance, 2 hikers discovered skeletal remains on the north side of the Scottsbluff National Monument, a rugged 3,000-acre park near Gearing, known for its steep bluffs and hiking trails. The site was about 5 to 7 miles from Englbert's last known location in a remote brush-covered area overlooking the North Platte River Valley. Items found nearby, including personal belongings recognized by the family, such as clothing and accessories, raised immediate suspicions and of connection. The remains were secured by the Scottsbluff County Sheriff's deputies and multiple agencies. Response ensued. Forensic experts in dentistry, anthropology, archaeology, and pathology from the University of Nebraska Medical Center, Physicians Laboratory in Douglas County, and the Center for Human Identification in Texas analyzed the bones, and identification was confirmed on November 25, 2025, via dental records and DNA matching with family samples. The Douglas County Coroner's Office ruled the death accidental. The cause was blunt force trauma consistent with a rapid deceleration event such as a fall from heights of 130 to 290 feet, likely from one of the monument's steep cliffs during the 2019 storm. No evidence of foul play or external involvement was found. Authorities noted that the site's inaccessibility had likely prevented earlier discovery despite extensive prior searches. Family and community reactions. The confirmation brought mixed emotion. Dawn Englbert's Chance's mother expressed profound heartbreak in the statements to media rejecting the accidental ruling. They feel he walked that trail thinking it was a shortcut to Torrington and fell to his death. Our family will never believe this. He just wouldn't do something like that, especially with the time of day and storm coming. We did not get answers nor any type of closure. We are heartbroken, she described. Reveling the surveillance video daily and called for continued scrutiny, believing someone knows what happened, Bailey has not issued a recent public statement, but earlier emphasized the family's shared devastation. Friend Matt Miller echoed doubts about the incident, urging more questions about the night. The Gary Police and Scottsbluff County Attorney's Office praised their tireless multi-state effort and closed the case as accidental. So, that being said, saying that it was accidental, okay? They just said that in this report that 5 to 7 miles from the last known location to where he was at, okay? They had dogs, drones, thousands of search people out there. Nobody found him. And when they found his bones, they were partially buried. People are saying, oh, well, that's because of the wind over the last 6 years blew dirt on him. No, I don't think so. And the particular hill that they're talking about is 800 feet tall. There's no way that he fell walking along the side of it and only fell 130 to 200 and some feet. The cliff is literally 800 foot tall in the Scottsbluff Monument. Not to mention, hundreds of thousands of people hike those trails and walk through there every year. You can look it up. The statistics are there. Hundreds of thousands of people walk those trails. No one seen him. And it's important to note that when this all first went down in 2019, the family of Bailey, instead of helping, their first thought was to lawyer up and not talk to anybody. Okay, there's the whole patio scenario where they were having a patio built on the back of their house, and then mysteriously after he disappeared, it was instantly finished and cemented over, and they said that they paid companies to come out and do scans of it, and they were, found to be innocent. There was nothing there that they found, okay? Bailey, also very interesting. When he first went missing, she went to his job and told his boss that he would not be coming back to work, and how soon could she get his paycheck. Also calling the insurance company, asking how soon before we can get the insurance money. It's very interesting when someone goes missing that those are the things that you look at. And then for 6 years, absolutely nothing. People walking past this area over and over and over. And for all of a sudden, his bones to pop up at the bottom of a hill, 5 miles from where he was last seen on his phone. People saying that the storm was horrific and it was, horrible, and the weather conditions, and he could have froze and fall. No, it was 59 degrees, almost 60 degrees. And so the whole thing just doesn't make no sense. It's almost like someone placed the bones there because they knew that they could use that as a excellent story to say, oh, well, there was a storm, it was rainy, he was drunk, he slipped and fell, hit his head, and no one just seen him. He was, so far tucked into the brush, it was horrible, which anybody that knows anything about Wyoming and Nebraska, it's wide open spaces. There's not a lot of brush. The area where they found him, literally people could have seen that area when they were showing it on the news and everything. You could see that area from 10 miles away. Drones would have seen it. Dogs would have been able to smell it. Thousands of people looked for this man, and they went over that area like a lot. And they found nothing. The dogs smelled nothing. I believe 100% that the bones were put there. They said that it's consistent. His injuries that killed him were consistent with blunt force trauma. Well, what was the last thing he was doing? Golfing with in-laws. What would be a perfect object to cause blunt force trauma? A golf club? Oh, gee, who knows? But, yeah. So this case is pretty interesting, and there's a lot, like I said, a lot more questions than answers. I mean, it's been 6 years. They find him. They do an autopsy. They find out that it's him. They still haven't found the phone. The phone is still missing, which he had in his hand right before it literally, he didn't turn it off, but for some reason the battery was off. They couldn't track it anymore. So a man, you're telling me a man that is drunk, stumbling, and is going to fall down a cliff because it's raining, thought to smash his battery or take it out of his phone so it couldn't be tracked anymore. I don't think so. The fact also is Bailey got remarried, and she has a, well, if she, I've heard conflicting stories that she got remarried or she has a new boyfriend, but nevertheless, she's not part of the family no more. She won't even let Chance's mother see the child, her grandchild. But yet, the Gearing Police Department are contacting her as the next of kin, and they're most likely going to turn the body over to Bailey, which anybody who's ever watched a crime science video or any of these forensic files knows that the first thing she's going to do is have the body cremated, so that way there can be no more tests or anything ran on it, because it all fits with the narrative of putting him at the bottom of the monument, making it look like he stumbled, fell to the ground, and everybody just overlooked him for the last 6 years. And they only found his torso, from what I gather from news media and posts. The rest of it, they say, is animals or this or that. But I don't think they found all of his bones, which is another thing that is kind of fishy. No phone, no, not all of his bones. So it's just kind of an interesting case. And like I said, in this instance, the in-laws that we speak of that lawyered up right away, if you think back to the JonBenet Ramsey case in Colorado, the first thing that they did, instead of saying, hey, we want to get justice for our daughter, we want to find out what happened, is they lawyered up. That makes you look extremely guilty. Instead of saying, hey, you know what, this was my son-in-law, he's got a grandson, blah, 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 or our grandson, this is his father. We want to do everything in our power to find this kid. No, they didn't. They didn't want to speak to nobody. They didn't want to do interviews. They did not want to help at all. I mean, that literally makes you look guilty as all get out. Now, the other thing with a lot of this is, the way the rules work, you got to have, probable cause, and you got to have all of this stuff, because if you find out that the people are guilty, but you did it in such a way where it wasn't constitutional, you didn't get a search warrant, you didn't do this right, then you'll know for 100% certainty that they're guilty, but nothing can ever be done about it, because something was done wrong during the investigation. But like I said, there's a lot of things with these small-time police departments that there's no accountability. So this ruling saying that he fell and it was an accidental death by blunt force trauma from falling between 130 and 290 feet on an 800-foot cliff, that is the official ruling, and it will never change. No one is buying it except for the in-laws and the Gearing Police Department. Them are the only people that are buying this story. So, let me know your thoughts. If you got access to Grok, you can ask him about this case, and he's the one who printed up this whole nice flyer for me, the AI. If you can look at the case, you can look at, there's been several podcasts, there's been several things about this case, and none of them make any sense. So, with that being said, we're going to end this particular session about the Chance Englbert case, but stay tuned, because there is another case here in Torrington, Wyoming, involving Denise Yargan, and I'm going to see if I can't get one of her really good friends to come on here, and we will talk about it. And it's another case that's, I think, 17, 18 years now unsolved, when they could have solved it, I do believe. I know some information about the case. I think it could have been solved, and it was just swept under the rug. So stay tuned for that one. We will talk about Denise Yargan. You can look it up, and you'll know what I'm talking about when we get ready to do that story. So thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.